Good morning, everyone. Welcome to your slightly different webinar this week. Just touching on obviously the message that I sent yesterday. I'm just not going to be available at the time, well, all day really today. So it's much easier for me to just get this one recorded, pop it out to you, and then any questions off the back of it, when Charlie posts the recording, you can just pop your questions underneath and we can write the answer out to them. So the next webinar was meant to be on like scale weight and progress measuring, but I really want to do that one live. So out of all of the webinars that we'd planned, this one was probably going to be the shortest, so I've just changed them around this week just so I can record the shortest one and then keep to doing the live ones for the last couple of weeks. So this week it's about consistency crashes and what to do when you fall off. I will say this presentation is going to be mostly me talking. There's not really anything fancy on the slides, pretty much as always. But yes, it's going to be mostly talking. So let's get into it. So first of all, talking about consistency. It's like the most cliche thing that someone can say when going through a fat loss phase. But honestly, it's the most true thing. You will have often heard like Charlie or I or Evie or any of the coaches rather, list of people saying progress, not perfection. And honestly, people come into their fat loss journeys expecting like everything having to be perfect, having a massive like overhaul of their current life and habits and everything. It's not necessary. Hopefully now we're getting into really settling into week 3, you will realise that it doesn't have to be perfect and it doesn't have to be complicated. It's just about simply putting the time in. And I've put here, there's no such thing as a successful quick fix, because any quick fix method, you will just stop. For example, if you cut your calories probably like years ago, some of you who had started weight loss journeys probably did like low carbs, probably did salad for your lunch and dinner, juice diets, all of that kind of thing, where you are just absolutely starving. And so you're slashing your calories right down, which, yes, if you did that consistently, yeah, it would get you the results. It would help you shred your body fat. But you're just not going to, because you're going to be so hungry. You are then going to binge and you are going to go back to where you were before. The quickest fix that you could do is a sustainable calorie deficit, which is what we're putting you in. And again, we've had this like a couple of times. I get it a lot with inquiry messages. People going, "Oh, the calorie deficit is just not working for me." And we just sit there like, okay, massive eye roll, because what everyone has to understand is there is no other solution to fat loss other than a calorie deficit. And you're going to get so bored of us like repeating what this is. But honestly, if by the end of the 6 weeks you can't explain to me what a calorie deficit is or what total daily energy expenditure is, we've not done a good enough job. Because your body fat is stored calories, and so you just need to be deficient in your calories in order to lose the body fat. You need to be eating less than what you're burning in order to lose it. So the reason that things don't work is because the tactics that said person has used to try and achieve their calorie deficit are wrong. And the tactics that we are teaching you in order to achieve your calorie deficit is right and a lot more sustainable. So please just understand that even if you haven't seen movement in the scales, which is a separate topic in itself, but even if you haven't felt any changes in your body or any changes in your clothes necessarily, trust me, you will. There is a way for you to lose weight. We just have to find out the right kind of energy balance for you, because sometimes it takes a couple of weeks just to tweak things. So it will work for you. You cannot give up. It's the test of time. And I'm just circling straight back to this diagram that I've shown in both of the webinars and maybe even in some check-ins, about how there's a load of things that contribute to what we burn in a day. If we were to sit down all day, we would still burn a good amount of calories, the majority of our calories in a day. But when we get up and we get moving, even things that aren't classed as exercise are still burning calories. There's a lot of things that are making it up, and we simply have to eat under that in order to lose weight. But we need to do it in a sustainable way so that you will keep doing it for the weeks, months, maybe even years that you need to do so. Consistency. Now, let's look at my notes. Have I missed anything so far? No. I'm so sorry as well. I realised that sounded absolutely disgusting, but Charlie and I live in Dubai, and I've come back to the UK, and the hay fever, the pollen, it's defeating me. Right, this graph represents that lovely little scale weight drop that we get always at the beginning of a weight loss journey. And you might feel really, really, at the end of week 1, or some of you who are watching this that are our one-to-one clients, like at the start of your journeys, you might have got a really lovely decrease in your scale weight in the first week. That is always because, and I put an Instagram story up about this the other day actually, when you begin your journey, a lot of better habits form. Like we'll suddenly start eating less salty foods, or we suddenly might be really conscious of our water intake and start drinking more water. Or naturally, we do start eating a slightly lower carb diet. We're not going low carb or anywhere near keto, but we might eat slightly less carbs than what we did before. And so those different factors will contribute to just decreasing water retention slightly, because the more salt we eat, the more water we'll retain. 1 gram of carbs holds 3 grams of water. So if we're eating less carbs, we'll hold on to less water. General movement and not sitting around and being so sedentary will help offload some water retention. So we will naturally get a really, really lovely decrease in scale weight in that first week. But then what happens is it starts to level out ever so slightly, and the decrease in scale weight isn't so steep. You'll never really get a drop that big unless you go on holiday and you come back again. And this can be enough to really throw people off. They'll go, but I lost 2 kg, I lost 3 kg in the first week. What's happening? It's not working for me anymore. When actually it really is. And this trickling down is now reflective of body fat coming off, not water. So if you are in this mindset of, the first week I lost so much and now I'm not, I don't want you to look at that. Please do not let that deter you from being consistent and thinking that you're getting results, because trust me, this is literally someone's graph from the Lean in 6 challenge. So everyone is probably in the same boat. Now, talking a little bit about rate of progress. So when someone joins Potentia, we have a kind of ballpark figure in which we would like them to, the rate at which we would like them to lose body fat. And this is body fat. This is not scale weight. So please do not mistake the two. Circling right back to the webinar that I did right at the start, where we looked at, we needed to look at body fat versus scale weight and weight. The progress that we like to set people on is to lose between 0.5 kilo and 1 kilo per week. And the higher your BMI, the easier it is to go to the further end of that. So the easier it is to try and aim for 1 kilo per week, simply because the more body fat you hold, the more energy your body requires to kind of keep ticking over. So your metabolism, you're going to be burning more because it requires more energy to move, basically, and keep going. The kind of lower your BMR is when you first start, we'd be looking at more half a kilo loss per week. So that's the rate of progress at which we like to set people on. And so you can sometimes try and foreshadow like where you might be in a couple of months. And this is really like important for goal setting. So let's say we aim for half a kilo loss per week. We might say, okay, in 12 weeks, so 3 months, we'd be looking for you to maybe be 6 kilos down, which is the best part of a stone. Now, I know that might seem a little bit counterproductive, because we say don't focus on scale weight, but it is still a metric that as an average we can use and we can look at. So think to yourself, I need to stay really consistent and disciplined, and Freya's already said that a way to do that is goal setting. What can I aim for in terms of scale weight down the line? And 3 months is a really good like point to look at. So think about where you were when we started and what scale weight you were when we started, and maybe look to see what is 6 kilos. From that, could we aim for slightly more, and look at that as a realistic rate of progress. We also need to look at things like photos and how clothes are fitting, but that is going to come in another webinar, because they are just so important. It's also funny because when we get lots of inquiry messages about people wanting to join Potentia, people, get completely obsessed with, right, I'd really like to lose X amount before this holiday, and sometimes it's realistic and sometimes it isn't. So knowing a good rate of progress is really key. And also, just at the end of here, it just shows that it's the test of time. Don't be that person though. If you think about it, we are coming towards the end of May, so we're halfway through the year. If you had potentially have not put this off and started in January, think where you could be. So don't let, after this 6-week challenge, if some of you do then go at it alone, don't fall into that trap of then falling off and waiting till the next milestone. It's the test of time, and the best time to start is yesterday. Okay, I'm gonna have a sip of water and then let's talk about crashes. Okay, so crashes are what can like make or break a successful weight loss journey. And it's not the crash themselves, it's how you pick yourself up again after said crash. And I always say this to my team, it's not how hard you fall off, it's how quickly you get back up again and keep going. And when I was thinking about how best to talk about crashes on this webinar, I was thinking, I could like outline so many different scenarios, which I'm kind of gonna do, but it's more so just I want to highlight how they don't, you're never gonna go backwards. Basically, you're just gonna stand still. We need to keep moving forward. So first example, let's just use the weekends. And some of you might be really familiar with this now. So when we're in more of a routine, typically in the week, you go to work, you come home. Sorry for any night shift workers or people who don't get weekends off. It can seem a lot easier to stick to your routine because you have that kind of like orientation with your time and your meals, and everything's just a little bit more normal. And so you stick to your calories, you stick to your steps, great. But it can then throw you off on the weekend because your routine is different. There's also a lot more people around who probably aren't on the same journey as you, like your partner, your kids, everything like that. And so it can be really tempting to fall off. And so what can happen is you then have a weekend where you've indulged in calories and gone, shit, I'll just have to start again on Monday. So the first thing is the start again on Monday mindset. I don't want you to ever fixate the start of your weight loss journey being on a Monday. Rule number 1, Mondays, ignore them. It's fine to start on a Thursday. It's fine to reset on a Friday. It's even fine to reset on a Saturday. The problem is when you go slightly off plan, say on a Saturday, say you wake up and the husband goes, oh, should we have a fry up? Or let's go out for a walk and let's go to the coffee shop and let's have a slice of cake. And you have that slice of cake. You then go, fuck it, I've been bad. And then it just sets you off for the rest of the day because you kind of think, well, I've already been bad. I've already ruined it. I'll just start again tomorrow. I'll start again on Monday. But this is again circling back to that diagram that I've shown you about how we burn calories. There are 3,500 calories in half a kilo of body fat. And our maintenance calories will probably be, depending on how high your BMR is, anywhere between like 1,700 to 2,500 calories. So you would need to eat over your maintenance calories of around 3,500 calories in order to gain half a kilo of body fat. So what I'm saying is the cake at the cafe on a Saturday morning is not going to have put you into a surplus, into a fat gaining state. It's not going to, especially if you go home and then you're like on plan again. What will put you into a surplus is if you then walk out that coffee shop going, okay, fuck it, I've been bad, let's just call this weekend a write-off and start again on Monday. Because then, over that period of time on the weekend, you could very much consume 3,500 calories over your maintenance calories and then put yourself into a fat gain state. That is very possible. So don't get into the mindset of pressing the effort button, because 1, even 2 meals out is not going to put you into a fat gain state, but anything more than that, then it very, very potentially could. So we need to just rein it in. I also give that example on a night out. It's often not the night out itself that would cause you to go into a state of fat gain. It's then the drunk McDonald's on the way home, or the drunk kebab full of mayo on the way home, and then the hungover food on a Sunday because you feel like absolute crap. That is then absolutely like shooting your calories up and could put you in a fat gain state, when actually the night out on its own probably would have leveled you out at maintenance for a day, and then you could carry on in your deficit. So nip it in the bud as soon as possible, and don't get into the mindset of, oh, I've been bad, let's just be bad for a little while because the damage is already done. No, you're making the damage worse, or you're then causing the damage when the damage wasn't there in the first place. Okay, you're also not going to go backwards, and this is kind of similar. I get a lot of people go, oh my God, I'm so scared for my social event. I just don't want to go, I don't want to undo all of the hard work that I've done. You're not going to. If you apply the principle that I've just spoken about just keeping it to the social event and reining it in outside of that event, you're not going to go backwards. You have to eat quite a lot of calories to gain, and if you just stick to the event, you are not going to gain. So you're never going to go backwards if you listen to what we're saying. And then the last thing is just peer pressure. So peer pressure can be a real big influence on how we manage events. Peer pressure being, you get home and your husband or wife says to you, shall we get a takeaway? Or go on then. Or your partner comes home with the best intentions, but with a box of chocolates or with a shared box of biscuits. That's great and that's lovely, but the temptation is still there. Another thing is if you are going on a night out or you're being social and your friends go, oh, you're not drinking, oh, you're so boring, yada, yada, yada. One, if you have friends like this, reconsider your friendship group. Don't reconsider your choice of husband or wife, but you know what I'm saying. Tell them to shut up. The best thing that you can do, if you feel comfortable, is making people aware of what journey you are on, and that there is a level of respect that comes with that. Of course, sometimes it's a very personal journey and we don't want to talk about it. But if you feel comfortable telling your closest friends or telling your husband or wife or partner of the journey that you're on, it can be really beneficial, because you can say, look, the biscuits are my weakness, just please don't bring them home. Or if you do want them for yourself, pop them away, don't tell me that they're there. Just make people aware of the journey that you're on, and hopefully that will suppress the peer pressure. So we're talking about consistency. It's a test of time. It's not about how hard you fall off, it's about how quickly you get back up again, and just about how the best time to start was yesterday, and about how you're never going to go backwards if you try and contain your crashes to said social event or said episode, and don't let it go further. I'm just going to scan the Facebook group chat just to see if there's any questions, and I don't actually think there was this week, and then I will press play again. No questions that have come up. So any questions that have come up during me talking, when Charlie posts the recording of this, comment below and we will write back with the answer. And that is all. And all being well, which it hopefully will be, I will see you next week live on the Scale Weight webinar. Thanks everyone, have a good week.